Okay, good morning, everybody. How are you? It's kind of nasty looking around here, although it hasn't done anything yet. It looks like it will. I don't know how many of you people have ever been to Lake George, New York, but this is the kind of weather we get down here, only without the cold. It stays mostly hot and rainy. Hot and rain we get, winter we don't get. But we're in the same sort of formation of mountains surrounding us, And these storms come in, some come over the top of the mountains if they're lucky, some come in and stick around a while. You don't know. Some of them hit the mountains and blow away. It's very strange, but it's the same sort of fishbowl type weather we had up in Lake George when I used to go on vacation. You could go up there for 2 weeks and it could rain all 2 weeks. Same storm, just kept going around and around and around. Alright, let's see what's good. Let's start with, this was just flashed up on my CNN page. Top Intel guy quit because Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Now, let me tell you this, that Trump probably knew this, but he would have known this had he read Intel reports. But he doesn't read them. At least I don't think he does, because he refused to read them when in his first term, and I don't think he's any smarter now than he was then. I think he's dumber, if anything. But Bush had the same problem, the public opinion said he had to do something after 9/11 to regain his, or they were going to throw him out of office. I mean, that was just the way it was. He was going to get impeached over something. So he decided to go to war and said that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, which they didn't. Iraq didn't have a whole lot of modern weapons, never mind weapons of mass destruction, and they didn't have a whole lot of people that knew how to use what was there. So that was just a dumb thing, which is what this is about, And now he wants to go into Cuba. And what will happen with Cuba is, I doubt if Cuba will ever become a state. They might, the United States might claim it as a territory, and then we'll have another Puerto Rico, a area of the world that has golf courses that Trump likes, and the rest of the country can go to hell, which happens in Puerto Rico all the time. So, that's another dumb thing. I wonder if he can see if he does read or not. I mean, you see some of the stuff he posts, and I guess he reads that, because I doubt very seriously anybody, if there was a proofreader involved, some of that stuff would never get on the internet. They just wouldn't let it happen. But Donnie's kind of, dumb that way. But the guy quit. Now that's a big, 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 big story, because it's telling the world and everybody else that Trump doesn't pay attention to anything. And I was very, I'll get into that in depth later on, but it just showed up now. Some guy, Afghan guy that served alongside U.S. troops, dies after one day in a ICE custody center in Texas. He's going around. They're going around purchasing warehouses and converting them into ICE centers. Some of them are across the street from schools and stuff, and that most people don't want this, but the problem is that we allow this to happen, And once you allow something to happen, it's very difficult to unallow it, And it's like this guy was complaining to me yesterday about the ICE just walked into Columbian campus and took some kid out or something like that. they don't. They're basically equipped with permission from the Supreme Court to do this stuff. No knock warrants and all this shit. I don't think I would be very happy if they did it to me if I was up there. You know. I'd probably get beaten to death or something like that, because I don't think I'd allow that to happen to me or to anybody I know, you know. But this is a new world I'm living in, I guess. I don't know. People are complacent, you know. I remember stuff. If anything like this happened back in the 60s, there'd be 100,000, 200,000 people in front of this place the next day or within the next week protesting, you know, but you don't see that because they're afraid of these guys, because they're not controllable. They're well armed. They don't care if they shoot and kill people. They don't care about anything, you know. National Guardsmen were only supposed to carry a maximum of 3 rounds or something like that at the time of Kent State, and they violated that order. I don't know whether it was a state. That's when the Guard in New Jersey was. I don't know about the Ohio National Guard or anybody else, but it's just it's a mess, ladies and gentlemen. And it's getting worse. I don't know what to tell you, what to do. Oh, that's a cool story, but that's for my live video. You know, some of this stuff you're just going to have to go across to the live video to hear me do it, because if I do it all now, I run out of things to talk about when I get over there. But these 2 stories, especially the first story about the Intel operative, he's a top official. I don't know whether he was the top official, but he's a top official. And let me just go back there for a minute and check it out and see what I can come up with on that story, because they just put this up as the front page. Trump appointed senior intel official resigns over Iran war. Joe Kent abruptly announced he's stepping down from his post, saying Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and that's in quotes. So, you know, I just don't understand what's going on there. I know there's no reason for us to be there. Trump thinks because they had uranium. My sources told me that they were more interested in becoming a energy source for the Mideast. They wanted to control the energy, and that's why they were dealing with the nuclear material and stuff like that. That they wanted to be able to control the flow of electricity, which would be a peaceful way of controlling those countries over there, you know, including Saudi Arabia. You know, they'd have to give them what they wanted, or they wouldn't have any power. And you don't once a country starts up with power stations, nuclear power stations, you're not going to attack that country, because you're going to have an accident, you know, and you're going to destroy half the world. Or that half of the world. Oh, man. Boy, I'll tell you something. And these billionaires are trying to preach their own religions now, or their versions of whatever religion is they're supposedly a member of. They say they're Christians, so they go out and they post their own versions of what they believe the Bible says and everything else, because they've got the money to do it, and they believe that they're right, you know. And the thing about it is, they just make more money. That's all they do. It's nothing good comes out of that crap. Oh, I don't know what Trump's mindset is when he's doing all this crap now, and people have, and obviously from what you see with this intel agent resigning, is that he's being told these are not it's not a threat, and I don't know. See, like Iran is still exporting millions of barrels of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, even as other traffic is paralyzed. And you know what they're doing with that money, folks. Buying Russian drones or Chinese-made drones to be used against us. And it's obviously that they don't want to surrender, and that the country's pretty much behind them. Now, what happened, I don't know what's going on, I'm not going to go into the business articles that I'm looking at right now, because they're just, I have to read them to understand them. And sometimes I don't understand them, because you have to be part of that world to be able to understand some of the stuff that these people say to each other. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But travel sucks because of spring break and the TSA funding stalemate. That's fun. They did that to stop the funding to ICE, and it's not really hurting ICE that much. What's going to hurt ICE is when the military comes in, and when Trump is gone and everything, and this settles down a little bit. Some of these guys are going to find it very difficult to find jobs and stay out of jail, because you're going to see courtrooms get buried in lawsuits as soon as Trump is gone, and as soon as that administration's out of there. I don't think that Donald can save his administration or the Republicans in his cabinet now. I think there's just, his power is nothing. The rich people want us to take Cuba, because if you remember, like even The Godfather had a scene in where they were in Cuba at the time, and it was it was mafia run, and the president of Cuba was just real good friends with the mafia, and that's why that's why we didn't go in right away and say, oh, congratulations, to Fidel, and we waited too long. And that was just a shame, because I would have loved to have been able to go, because they have those great old cars over there, and they still run like they're, every day. I'd love to get my hand on a nice cheap 58 Buick Roadmaster. It's like owning a tank, without the gun turret. Oh, okay. So, that's it for today. I'll keep an eye on what's going to happen with that Intel guy. Probably nothing. Nobody will pay attention to it. That's just the way it is, Nobody really pays attention to anything. All right. Hit the subscribe button. Take a deep breath. Go have a cup of coffee. And I'll meet you over at the live video in about 10 to 15 minutes, all right? Because it's just, it's Tuesday. Oh, listen, tomorrow I'll probably be very late. I have to take my wife to the doctor in the morning, so don't get upset if I'm not there. Look for me at the normal times. I may get back in time, I may not. But I'm letting you know anyhow. Okay, that's it. See you guys mañana.